Welcome to Mindful Blerd, a podcast where we explore media through the blurred identity. I am your spiritual kind of weirdo, motivational speaker.
Yeah, and I am your political radical communist. Goddammit! Don't run, motherfucker. Oh, I'm sorry, goofy wise. I'm doxing myself on this motherfucker.
And welcome to Mindful Blerd. Yeah, and we're gonna go today. We're talking about the election. Let's just keep it. Keep it a buck. We're talking about the election. Before we get to that, though, we got a special guest.
Sunny Day Jones in the building.
My goodness, that's me. Hi.
Welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. I am better today because it's been a hell of a week. Let me tell you.
I feel the same way. It was one day this week where we call it goblin mode, but it's like one of those mode days where you just gotta lay in bed all day. Maybe, order DoorDash, do nothing productive, just kind of emotionally cope all day.
Oh, yeah, burrito time. Yeah.
Yeah, burrito time. That's what you call it. We call it goblin mode in our house. Yeah,
burrito time.
Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, it's been a tough week. But before we get into the election, as per usual, we're going to have a quote of the week. And today, our guest, Sunny Day Jones, has brought it for us. So, Sunny Day, what do we got?
Well, I had to choose between two, but I think I'm gonna follow my first mind. The great writer, singer, and prophetess herself, Erykah Badu, said, "The man that knows something knows that he knows nothing at all."
And
Bars.
Damn, yeah, that will definitely slap you in the face. It's very humbling. But I want to ask you, surprise, motherfucker. You know what I mean? I thought a lot of things were gonna happen this week that didn't. You know what I'm saying? Clearly I know nothing at all, and that's kind of where I'm speaking specifically about the presidency. And that's kind of where my mind went immediately. It's almost to say that like we should be very humble in our approach and never be too sure about what we think is going to happen, because history has a way of surprising us. Time and time again, yet it's somehow very similar at the same time, but I wanted to ask Sunny Day, why that quote? What does that mean for you? How does it resonate with you?
Oh goodness, it resonates with me because it's one of the things that keeps me humble, and it lets me know that quite literally you think you know, but you have no idea. Yeah. And the key to recognizing that you don't know everything and that you can't know everything, accepting that has kept me sane in a lot of ways, because what is anxiety but thinking that you should know everything and you don't? And so it really does. It helps me that it's a very calming quote. And it's one that keeps my ego in check, right? Because the election results and its aftermath have been full of I told you so's from everybody's side.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you accept that you don't actually know anything and start from there, maybe people can build community based on what they can learn together instead of based on what they think they have to tell everyone else.
Woo! Shit, drop the bombs. Yeah. That's real as fuck. And I think people's eagerness to kind of, and even to myself, I fall victim to this, I think, sometimes, you know what I mean? People's eagerness to explain everything, I think it can come off as, kind of like, first of all, unempathetic, you know what I mean? To the gravity of the situation, you know what I mean? And almost like talking like finger wagging in a way of like, oh, you should have known this, you know what I mean? And, at the end of the day, we are all, trying to live our lives, and, and the apocalypse is right outside our window, as we're continuing to survive. So it's like, I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know if it's the best approach always to just feel like we need to explain every single thing. And I think we should allow time for things to breathe. You know what I mean? To breathe and to relax. You know what I'm saying? Let it soak in. And then we can start talking about what we can, like you said, what we can discover together. You know what I mean? From a place where the egos are aside. You know what I mean? And we're talking as equals, you know what I mean? So yeah. How do you feel about that, David?
Man, discover together, man. There's so much great shit about that.
By the way, I'm dropping everybody government today because I dropped my shit.
Because you said I'm a communist, and then you like, here go my real name.
We are in trouble. You know, you got me on a list.
Yeah, I fucked up.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Tack. You got it. Man, that hits on so many levels. And honestly, the first thing that came up was the echo chambers that we kind of end up in.
Oh, for sure.
And how it can be, I think incredibly, it's alluring. I mean, the quote about anxiety, it really knowing something is really just a means to sort of assuage our anxieties about like, I definitely know what this is going to be, what that's going to be, what you're going to do. And I think so much of what keeps us in our sort of echo chambers is our very sort of, rigid attachment to our ideas that this is exactly who, like, I know, not even just to what we know, but who we think we are. Because I think the issue with the identification or with the knowing something is, I know this thing in regards to my identity. Like, this is definitely who I am. There's a certain like certainty to it. And I think it keeps us, isolated from one another in a real way. And man, like, so I, knowing nothing, I think there's a temptation to, for me to only focus on the sort of material aspects of that. Right. So like the information that I know a lot of facts. I know a lot of shit. Like that shit is cool. But I think if we bring it down to sort of a microcosmic perspective, it's like also it's important to know nothing like from a moment to moment basis. I think a lot of times what we're trying to do is like triage when things go bad. Like, you know what? Maybe my opinion is bullshit. Let me back up. Like, we've gone too far. It's like there were like 16 times from the moment you got up to like the first time you had your coffee that you were like very attached to knowing something that you could have let go but didn't. And so I think so much of the journey for all of us is going to be making sure we bring that home in a meaningful way, so that when we get in those spaces, when we are in community, that we're able to show up meaningfully and empathetically, like you said, because it's something that we do all the time and we're not just doing when we have to, when we think we should be. In
a sense of like we have worked that muscle already, and then it's already there. And I think something you've already touched on that I think is also, just to kind of like dogpile on it, for lack of a better word, is like the sense of like anxiety, and feeling like we need to know things. I think it often comes from a lack of feeling safe. You know what I mean? And in today's day and age, we really don't feel safe, even in as we are in the imperial core. We don't feel safe. You know what I mean? And Black people, especially right now, don't feel safe. So I can understand the impulse to want to come up with explanations and immediately rush to, oh, let's blame this. But I think what that does, it puts an over importance on things outside of us for our sense of safety, rather than things within us for our sense of safety. And I think not to, dude bro it and be like, bro, it's all a mental mindset. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of that comes from community. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that, those co-regulation skills, those, being able to be in community, and even having people being able to reflect back to you, like the pain and suffering that you're kind of feeling in this moment right now, and the fear. I think that also kind of creates that sense of safety for ourselves. You know what I mean? And it's more intrinsically based, rather than like on ideas or on people we frankly don't fucking even know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like all ththese politicians, these people, we don't know these people for real. We don't know their intentions 100%. We know what they show us on the TV screen. You know what I mean? So I mean, it can be dangerous to, put all our hope and our, worries and onto something else. And we need to, I think, ultimately learn to like, manage that better. And I'm speaking as someone who is trying to do that actively right now, you know what I mean? As I'm co-regulating with my community, you know what I mean? Right. But yeah, for sure.
And I think it's a very healthy, a very healthy journey to be on, naming your emotions, managing your emotions, and then regulating them by yourself as best you can. And then reaching out to your community in order to process that. To co-regulate, to name some of the very real fears that come with a Trump presidency. To name some very real fears that come with a Kamala presidency. Right? Like to name some very real fears that come with existing in a system that makes us question ourselves so much.
Yeah.
It's a question, that system that makes us question ourselves so much. Since we are co-regulating here, right? I think one of the hardest things for me during this election cycle was not how to make the choice. It was the fact that I had to make the choice. This, it's not about neither of these candidates align with my values. Is that this does not align with my values. The process by which I am told is one of the primary and only ways to make my voice heard. That is also only in existence because some colonizers decided they wanted to have democracy and slavery at the same time. And I am still participating in such a system and then being judged by whatever decision that I make in it. I'm a basketball fan, and I would never bend the basket sideways and then blame people for not scoring. And I think that is what I think that is what our system does. It's like you're in the basket, you're moving the goal line. It's like through the paint all like this close to the basket, and you're mad. You're judging people for whatever decision they make. For the people who decide to play and just let it play how it play out and just do the best they can, be the best power forward, be the best center that they can be, or the people who decide like who want to play with a fucked up goal. Like I'm sitting down.
You know?
And that's some real ass shit.
It's some real shit. And so I think what we dealt with was a lot of people who were trying to regulate that emotion, to regulate the emotion of having to exist in this system that in itself, regardless of who was running, who was winning, who was losing, did not align with their values or what they thought their values were.
And I think that's such a beautiful way to put it. I think you kind of encapsulated like the both sides of the argument without even saying it. You know what I mean? But also the absurdity of like how it's being framed to begin with. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think what social media does, as we have these conversations, it flattens that conversation. So there's no 3D, it's just 2D now. And there's either one choice or the other. And there's no conversation about like, why the fuck are we making these choices to begin? Why are these our only options? You know what I mean? And I'm so glad you said that because it's infuriating. You know what I mean? It's infuriating that this is the state of our life, you know what I mean? Or the state of our country, of our system, you know what I mean? And that so many people are also like so complacent in it, and not that they're willingly, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of it is manufactured, you know what I mean? Like people think the way they do because of their environments and how those shape them, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it is very frustrating to see both sides of any argument, you know, or in this election being torn apart by each other when the real blame is the person who set this fucking system up to begin with. And like, why are we having that conversation? Like I hear people just to take the whole wool off it, because it was a great metaphor, but like we got people talking about vote Jill Stein, vote Kamala, go vote whatever the fuck, right? And who the fuck? Why are we not talking about the capitalist class? You know what I mean? Why are we not talking about
over? You gotta start Wise, you gotta start over.
Did I say it?
Yeah, you gotta start over. And take a deep breath and go slow when you say her name.
My fault, bro. My fault.
It's good. It's good.
Kamala Harris. You know, people voting for Kamala Harris or Jill Stein or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we not mad at the capitalist class? Why are we not mad about the people who are, you know, 30%? I think I saw a study that 30% of all bills are out of the bills that get brought to office, 30% of the legislation gets passed. And it's only the bills that the capitalist class want, that the donor class wants. You know what I mean? Yeah. And whether we want it as people or not, only like say if 90% of the people want it, it only affects if it's going to get passed by 5 to 10%. You know what I mean? So if 90% of the people in the country want something, but the capitalist class doesn't want it, it's not happening. You know what I mean? And it doesn't really affect, it just makes me so angry that that's not the conversation that we're having. on social media right now, and everybody's pointing fingers and we're blaming each other, and it's like, oh my fucking God, man.
And I mean, points aggressively to chart, right? Because did we all not see the racial and gender breakdown of the exit polls?
Yeah.
Y'all do know that every single Muslim person in Dearborn, old people, children, everybody, they pets, everybody could have voted for Kamala Harris, and Trump still would have won this election. Every single person who voted for Jill Stein and RFK could have voted for Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump still won this election. Speaking of systems and speaking of classes, why are we not talking about the fact that white people and white supremacy will eat itself alive?
It will,
that it will eat itself from the inside out. And you had people who looked at everything and still said, as long as they not black, I'm gonna check that box. As long as they not a woman, I'm gonna check that box. And like, if we're talking about it, because again, I feel like, Wise, like you were saying, the blame game is a very low hanging fruit conversation. I don't like to have it, especially because when you're in a place of blame, the natural instinct is to blame someone who is less likely to fight back against you, right? The punching down is like psychologically the most likely option when you're acting out of anger, when you're acting out of fear, because the truth is, everyone who's blaming black folks, everyone who's blaming Latinos, everyone who's blaming, y'all saw the same chart that said white folks voted overwhelmingly for Trump, and ain't none of y'all logging on and saying everybody stop working for these white folks. Ain't nobody said that. Ain't nobody said that, and I think that that's a very important conversation that we need to have too. That
1,000
supremacy that is eating this country alive from the inside out.
1,000%. I think I saw a study that said if no white people voted and all minorities voted, there would. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Democrats, but there would never be a Republican president. You know what I mean? If only POC people voted, you know what I mean? There would be no Republican, and that to me is just like, I mean, obviously we have a white supremacy problem. You know what I mean? Like it's absurd that we are not being able to talk about about what it really is, and we're punching down instead. So.
But I think also, like, when we talk about the white supremacy problem, that was something that I underestimated. Was just how, like, during this election, I want to tell you, like, just a quick story. Like, I was pretty confident going into this. I think I've always had a pretty good barometer for like political shit and the way things are going to swing. Just, pattern recognition, call it neurodivergence, whatever the fuck you want to say. I was not shocked when Trump won in 2016. I saw the first debate. I looked at my wife. I said, she can't beat him. She does not understand what he is. And I was correct. Like people did not understand what that thing was. And so with Biden, I genuinely thought it was a coin toss. I thought it was a terrible candidate. But I was like, this could be a coin toss. I think people are sick of Trump, but whatever, we'll see. This one, I felt decently confident. Until the day of the election. I was running. First thing I did was I searched election 2024 on TikTok, and all I got was a bunch of fucking Trump videos.
Ooh.
And I got a bunch of Trump videos from like white kids in college. Like, I got a bunch of white kids really just like Trump, whatever, like people, Joe Rogan vibe, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing I got was I was at work and I was talking to folks, and they were repeating this sort of talking point that like, oh, they're the same. These two candidates are the same. These two candidates are the same. And with the culmination of both of those things, like, it literally all hit me at once that we're in trouble. Because of the fact that because of what you were talking about as far as white supremacy. And what I got was the same sort of world weariness that people had after, let's say, in 2014. Remember when like shit went crazy? It was that like pussy hats, like around then, like social justice, fucking the kids, like we just became aware of a lot of things collectively, right? We're all signing off on
shit. Coney 2011.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Crazy.
And and we didn't have no follow through, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think when we look at and just to do the thing that I do best is when you look at this from a consciousness perspective, right?
Yeah.
The first time you get that information, it's like, ooh, first you're pissed because you're like, I didn't know this. What do you mean it's this bad? Like after that, you're like, okay, well, I got to do this. I got to fix this thing. So we try to fix it. But the way that we try to in the beginning, like children, is we try to mirror it. We don't try to embody it. We don't try to live it. We don't try to integrate it. We just go, well, this is the thing. And so in 2012 on, we get a lot of folks trying to like do the thing, right? A lot of corporations trying to do the thing. A lot of people, a lot of, coming into the situations and being like, oh, I want to hire some minority. Like it was this kind of wave of bullshit. And, we knew it was bullshit.
Yeah. We knew it was bullshit.
We knew it was bullshit.
I don't think they even found out it ain't bullshit. Yeah.
But we had to we're playing along, but we're also participating, right? A lot of the certain terms and microaggressions and shit, people are like, we're throwing them around because we're very happy about, knowing these things. And then it takes a while for those things to go, oh shit, my idea of this and the exploration of it in real life are two different fucking things. What happens though in that scenario is while we're doing all that work is that the people who are also on board are also doing that work, like, and specifically white folks, but they're also being sort of taken aback by our failure to follow through, right? The hollowness of our awareness around it. And so there was a backlash. There was a backlash. It was Trump, right? Like there's this backlash of like, man, fuck this. Like y'all ain't about this. Like this isn't that serious. Y'all are just talking. And I feel like there was this kind of resentment that fostered. And I think what we're experiencing in this election was that exact same thing with the new crop of children that came up in a pandemic world, like 4 years of fucking crazy where they were hyper virtual. So instead of these concepts being virtual in a sense, but then like, okay, I'm gonna go out into life and somebody's like, hey man, you're being an asshole right now. Nobody gives a shit about this right now. We're just, they're not going out into life. They're just logging on and they're just doing this. And the virtualization of that, like capped on the top of that resentment and exacerbates it to the point where it leaches out into all these other spaces. And it's like, I think that so much of this white supremacy, the lack of even wanting to deal with it is not even recognizing how detrimental it is to you. But how could you recognize how detrimental it is to you if you're not willing to engage with it? Because every term that's around it now triggers you and you're just like, fuck it all.
Yeah.
Like, fuck them all. I don't want nothing to do with any of it.
What I do, which is like to spend a little history in it. It amazes me that, number one, I'm 33 and I realize how fast I've started to go back in my day, because there really is a very clear difference between, and it's the internet, right? Like people who have always had access to Google. And then there's like this millennial strand of people who like had 1 foot into digital online culture and 1 foot out, right?
Yeah.
So you're also dealing with a new group of young people, of children who grew up in a post-internet world, a post-Obama world, and a post 9/11 world. And so when you don't know what you quite literally do not know what life was like before it was okay to call Mexicans criminals on tape, on live, on CNN in front of everybody.
Yeah.
There is a new normal for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And people who do not know, because I remember when conscious Kanye got on TV and said what?
George Bush don't care about black people.
And they couldn't shift that camera from him fast enough.
Yeah.
Come on
They couldn't shift that camera fast enough. They couldn't cut that mic fast enough. Right. I remember a time, for all his flaws and all of the flaws of that conversation. When John McCain was at a rally and a woman asked a question and she said she was afraid of Obama because Obama was an Arab. And he did not even let her finish that sentence. He didn't let her ask her question. He took that mic from her hand and said, no.
Yeah.
And for 2000, now I have lots of criticisms of that, right? Because he didn't say, oh, he's not an Arab. He's a good person. He's a family man. I was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
For 2007, I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
I saw that in real time. I saw those things in real time. I saw the Muslim community, the Arab community, become a visual scapegoat in my face overnight.
Yeah.
I saw that. I
forgot about that. That shit was
people,
crazy.
Right. My name is Jamila. Jamila is the Arabic word for beautiful, right? And in 2020 was the first year. Nope, 2019. 2019 was the first year that I didn't get pulled for a random check at the airport.
Oh, wow. That's insane. Mm-hmm. And I think what you guys are kind of getting at right now, I see two things right now. I see almost like the loss of civility. You know what I mean? And like in how we address people, and like how the kids who are growing up online have kind of normalized this like level of bigotry that was like once unapproachable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like granted, it was always there, but it was different. You know what I mean? And there was like a level of barbarism that, you know, that Trump incites. And it's like what is that going to do to our society moving forward? He's not had one term, but also 2 terms at presidency. You know what I mean? And I see the way my nephew, who was like grew up on the internet completely, how they even look at Trump, and they think he's funny. They think he's funny. They think he's a meme. They don't take him super seriously, and but they also don't think of him as a threat, like what he stands for, what he is. You know what I mean? And I try to impart that logic on them, but it's like they don't even know what it was like before this. You know what I mean?
They don't have any sense of history in that regard.
Yeah, and it was bad, but like we can obviously say Trump is a step up from, you know, a lot of the shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in that way it is regressive. You know what I mean? I would also say that like kind of what David was talking about earlier is like, I think that like what happened, like we are seeing like pretty much a mirror of like 2016 in a way. But I also think that like you get this rejection to like Blackness and you know, identity, or what the right would call woke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't even like using that word now because they ruined that for me. You know what I mean? Like y'all fucking ruined that for me. But I think there is a rejection to that when one, you're racist. You know what I mean? But also when we see that liberalism is not addressing our problems. You know what I mean? And like they might come out and say, oh, we care about everyone, Black Lives Matter, you know what I mean? But like, what are y'all doing to fix the systemic issues that feed into these things? You know what I'm saying? Like the systems that feed into these, that keep people poor, that keep, you know, Black people disenfranchised. And I think when you have a reality where people are talking about one sector of it, which they're allowed to talk about on CNN, they talk about race, they talk about identity, but they don't talk about the economic system that funds that disenfranchisement. And when you get that, you get fucking Trump, because you're not dealing with the solutions. And these things are beginning to fester and fester and fester. Mm-hmm. And like liberals will get on stage and they will talk about the solutions, you know what I mean? But not in the full way that we need them to be talked about. You know what I mean? As people who will care about, you know, justice in our society and equity and really fixing the problems. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And they are dealing with the problem. They're just dealing with them through the lens of capitalism, right?
Yeah, which is the problem. You know what I'm saying?
So liberalism to me, right? Which is, I'm sure we're going to get into this like labels and conversations anyway, because.
Oh, one second, Jamila, your camera froze. Are we good? We're good now. Go ahead.
Yeah,
you're good. Yeah, we're going to get into the labels. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to get into labels and things like that, but we've also lost the plot, for lack of a better phrase, and understanding that words mean things.
For sure. Right? Yeah.
And you would think, especially in internet discourse, you would think that all it takes to be a liberal is to vote for a Democrat, and all it takes to be a leftist is to not vote at all.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The watering down of those terms, but liberalism in a historical sense, particularly the liberalism that we see now, is the idea that there is a market solution for societal problems.
And
that the less government regulation you have, the more market solutions can exist for the problems that we have.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you have these post World War II billionaire class elites getting together and saying, okay, but we want to be the only ones with the market solutions though. So how do we make that happen? How do we start pushing people for less and less government regulation? I know we can flip the script and say that government regulation is welfare, and government regulation keeps people who would otherwise be coming up with market solutions lazy and indifferent to changing things for themselves. So when you think of liberalism from that perspective, and then you look at something like the Democratic National Convention, where you have the narrative being sold of a market solution, right? Instead of economic change, the solution is joy. Which means what? Now I'm all here for joy. Right? I'm all I'm all here for joy, and that needs to be the mental health of the people needs to be a serious material concern
for sure.
In the next 6 months at least, right? But providing this market solution that people can quite literally buy into, instead of like, we are going to do things economically to meet the material needs of the people.
Woo!
And so now, with that definition of liberalism in mind, with that definition of capitalism in mind, what we got actually makes perfect sense, because you have a bunch of people, a bunch of elites who have decided that there is a market solution for everything, but they want to be the only ones charging for them.
They're the only ones.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And it's like, I think you put it perfectly. You know what I mean? In the sense that like liberalism is a market solution for everything. And it's like, what's the market solution for disenfranchisement of Black people? You know what I mean? Black capitalism? You know what I mean? I just like, these things are not going to solve our issues. You know what I mean? It's like when you put profit at the center of everything, things become corroded. Like people always say like, oh, capitalism leads to innovation. Well, it only leads to innovation in its proximity to profit. You know what I mean? As soon as something becomes unprofitable, it's no longer innovation that it needs. It's like, we're gonna make this worse, actually. And that's what we're seeing in our society. Society getting worse because there is the better solution is no longer profitable. You know what I mean? Right. And it's no longer okay for the capitalist class.
We have no regulation, right? 1940s neoliberals decided that the problem was the government telling them that they couldn't overcharge, was the government telling them that they could not have a monopoly on things, was the government telling them that they had to let Black people in their buildings. They decided that that was the problem that was keeping capitalism from thriving the way that it's supposed to. And so now, once you have capitalism and liberalism holding hands and skipping down a gentrified street, when you explain it to people like that, instead of just saying this side wants this and this side wants that,
for sure,
that's actually the root conversation that we need to have.
Yeah, for sure. And I would also say that, like, when people see capitalism and liberalism holding hands, skipping down the street, there begins to be a resentment towards, liberalism altogether. You know what I mean? On both sides. You know what I mean? I think even the right wingers, they despise, what they see as identity politics. You know what I mean? And I think it's because they feel like it's in the way, but they're also wrong in that, that these things shouldn't be talked about. It's just that the people in power have no incentive of actually doing what it's taken to fix these issues. You know what I mean? So they'll just talk about it, you know what I mean? But they're not talking about the solutions. You know what I mean? And,
I think there's that is at the core of the cognitive dissonance of being able to deal with any of these things meaningfully, which is because it's like, if we actually had real conversations about dealing with these problems and we actually dealt with it, it would mean we'd have to go into the history of actually what the fuck happened. Like it's really horrifying to watch the concerted effort of people to rewrite history and minimize history and try to scapegoat and not, like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. And like, I think I don't even know where I saw it, but somebody said, they were talking about the Daughters of Liberty and how they went in and tried to change the history books. And I'm like, and like when they said this, for some reason I was like, wait. We've got 200 and something years of people avoiding the emotion, the uncomfortable emotion, the uncomfortable awareness of exactly what they did to Black people and exactly what they did to indigenous people.
Yeah.
And we are consistently, again and again, we're not dealing with that. We're just pushing it to the side. We're pushing it to the side. We're talking about it. We're saying, oh, we're going to fix some things, kind of, sort of, holding hands with capitalism. If it's profit, it works. But then we're just going to push it to the side. And so it's so trippy to watch, especially because on the internet, you watch these clips of these people saying the exact same shit from like, you know, civil rights era. I mean, what could the Blacks want? We've already done enough. Like you push it like every single time. It's the exact same thing. It's because we haven't meaningfully dealt with it. And not even economically, we haven't meaningfully collectively looked at it from an objective educational perspective.
1000%. Yeah.
And that fucks you, because now I'm absolutely resistant to anything that is like you go to school, slavery happened, it was bad. Martin Luther King, slavery ended thanks to Abraham Lincoln. He saved us. They got free. They were having a tough time for a bit, but they kind of figured it out.
Martin Luther King came
Martin
in.
Luther King happened, and he saved us.
And no problems left.
And then we did it. I don't know what the fuck. What else do you Negroes
and
want?
The new cool kids, the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha cool kids, their history books say, and then Obama came along, and now racism is officially over.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
And,
you know
my God, David, I have to what'd you say, wise dog pile, on the dealing with the emotion. Because the man who knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. And we also have to take accountability for what kind of society that has created and how that has manifested itself in how we are having the conversation about electoral politics in general as the people who are not the racists, as the people who are not the conservatives, right? Because the idea that there are no feelings involved, and Malcolm X said you have to do it this way in this book that I read, and so therefore what I am doing is valid and what you are doing is not. Creating this binary, right? We have to ask ourselves, what pieces of this white supremacist world, of this white supremacist stolen United States, have left their shards in me? What pieces of that? Right? Because I've been sick of the binary conversation. I've been sick of the binary conversation of, if you vote this way, that means you don't care about this. If you vote this way, then that means you don't care about that. Babes, binaries. We are not going to make it through a Trump presidency with you thinking about binaries like that. Okay. We got trans people's lives to protect, and you still holding on to a binary of this or that. How trans people supposed to trust you? How non-binary people supposed to trust you? How biracial people whose parents are immigrants who are worried about immigration status supposed to trust you? Because there's gonna be so much gray area shit that we gonna have to sift through. And how we gonna do that if you still holding on to binaries of, if you voted for Kamala, you like genocide, and if you didn't vote for Kamala, that means you hate the Black people. I don't have time for that. It's like that binary. Anybody got to look?
I'm so glad you said it. I'm so glad you said it.
Time for that bullshit. Look, we got so much in the middle to deal with. That the binary is getting on my nerves. Y'all, binaries were created in this country to uphold racism, and I dare somebody to change my mind.
Yeah, it's true. It's a part of white supremacy. Thinking in this or that is it's like we're participating in white supremacy, even in the way we shoot down, we punch down at other oppressed groups instead of white people, or instead of the rich, you know what I mean? Instead of the capital class, we were participating in white supremacy as we are, like you said, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, since we're on this talking point about electoral politics and overall anti-Blackness, I think something that did come up before this election is anti-Blackness within leftist spaces. You know what I mean? And I'll be, as a communist, I'll be the first one to say, any someone who claims themselves as a leftist and can acknowledge that those, like you said, Jamila, those shards exist within me. Mm-hmm. Y'all not serious about leftism as you. No, for real, because I was in this live, right? I was in this live as a person, right? And I was watching. Sometimes I hop on TikTok lives and stuff like that, and like try to engage with people politically.
You be in this Brady Bunch lives, and I'm like, ooh, why is it better than me? I should go live more so that we could model a better way of doing that.
You should.
You're right.
Matter of fact, we should together. Honestly, bro.
That would be really, really good.
Yeah, because I feel like there's not enough honest, because the conversations are becoming so flat, like you said. And what the example I'm about to bring up is an exact example of that. But on the leftist side, like so many people are saying, like, oh, if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're automatically G-sider, right? And I'm like, not only is this not productive, if you vote with Kamala Harris,
there you go.
That you are automatically a G-sider supporter, and it's like, not only is this not, I mean, as a communist, we have to look at the material conditions of our society. That's what it means to be a Marxist, is to look at the material conditions of our society and meet the solutions of said material conditions. So I'm walking into this live, and this person is talking to this black woman, and this black woman agrees with him on 99% of everything he's saying, right? He's saying, oh, both parties are bad, this and that, right? Kamala Harris is bad, Trump is bad, right? I said it right? I got it. You got it. Let's go. All right. I'm so happy. I'm gonna try to make sure I almost forgot, because I get in the moment. But like, I'm watching this person, and this white communist is talking to her, and he's basically saying that if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're a G-Star supporter, and there's nothing that can save you. And he's like yelling at her, cutting her off. And I'm like, in the comments, I'm like, bro, what are you doing, bro? Like, as a leftist, you're shutting off someone who agrees with you 99%. Yeah. And they say, hey, I gotta vote for Kamala because I feel like, well, one, obviously Trump is emboldening white supremacy at a level that Kamala might not ever do, you know what I mean? Because he's outwardly racist as a white man and being racist. And you can't even like set your politics aside to be able to be like, you know what? I can understand that perspective. You know what I mean? And what it does is it creates distance between people who need to be coming together. You know what I mean? We need to be tight as fuck with each other. You know what I mean?
Ooh, we need to be tight.
We need it, because that's the only way we're going to create the systems that are going to take down capitalism. You know what I mean?
And not to be petty, to be petty white leftists and white communists, but now is a really interesting time.
Yeah.
To become so pro-justice.
Yeah.
Right? Because anytime a white communist or a white leftist decides to tell me what my vote means, I ask them for 10 years of receipts. I want to see the Carfax, because at this point, because your cute little Marxist text might have informed the way you think politically.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about how whiteness informed everything else.
Ooh, yes.
I'm not impressed that Malcolm X and Angela Davis taught you how you're supposed to be voting right now. Who taught you how to resolve conflict? Who taught you how to talk to Black women? Who taught you how to understand your positionality in this world? Who taught you how to have friends? Who taught you how to have relationships? Not nobody, your white mama, and that's the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not. You know, it's like Sunny, my Sunny Days audience. Y'all understand? Y'all understand where I'm coming from, because it's like, if you're gonna be that bold, I am going to ask you.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, if you had gone this hard against your white racist friends in 2016, then maybe we wouldn't be here right now.
Wow. And we could talk. They be going hard as fuck on Black people on the internet, but not hard as fuck at Thanksgiving when that turkey on the table.
The numbers show points aggressively to the exit poll chart. The numbers show that you don't have nearly this much smoke for your mama and your daddy and your husband and your boyfriend and your sons and your daughters. As you do for anybody else on the internet. The poll showed that you were yelling in the wrong direction this whole time.
Yeah, and that's 100% facts. And I feel as though like like you said, it's like you cannot call yourself a good Marxist, a good communist, if you don't have good conflict resolution skills, brother. If you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to set your whiteness aside and say, hey, they might have a perspective that I don't fully understand because I have never lived in their skin before. So maybe I should shut up and listen a little bit. Okay. Maybe I should, if I'm going to be in this space, maybe I should say, wait a minute. There might be some things I don't know, and I shouldn't act as if I'm an authority on everything, especially racism. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because as we know, privilege tends to blind people and make them not see how that affects other people. You know what I mean? And that shit really pisses me off, bro. And it's like, it's not going to get us out of capitalism, y'all. Y'all need to, like, do you want to do right or do you want to be right? That's what I always say, bro. Do you want to do right or do you want to be right? Because you can get into that ego. Oh, I'm right this, I'm right that, I'm right that. But like, is that going to help you bring the coalition that we need to break down capitalism? Oh, and no,
you're only right in your world. You're only right in your world. The man who knows something knows what? That he knows nothing at all. You're only right in your world.
Yeah.
You are only right in your world.
Yeah.
That is an anxiety thing for sure. Like that's like
talking about Blerdy.
You know
what a multiverse is.
Yeah.
You only right in your world.
For sure.
Y'all made me think about this binary thing because it's really I know we've already kind of touched on the mental health aspect.
Go ahead.
No.
But that's why you here, nigga. Bring it back. You know what I'm saying?
But like this like I know so many if they get here, if they get this far, I know so many white folks will watch this, and the second we say white supremacists, they brain shut the fuck off. Like I know that it was done. Like I think that's where we're at, and I think that's fucked. I think that's not a great place to be. And so something that I'm deeply passionate about is pointing to what causes white supremacy, which is a spiritual issue. This is a mental health spiritual problem. It's a psychological inability to let go of your attachment, like Goofy said, to our egos. Like that is that's been the point of, supposed to be the point of a spiritual system, a yogic system, fucking every spiritual system on the planet is meant to create space between our identities of who we think we are, right? And in life. And so a lot of the time what we run into is we become so attached to our ideas of ourselves. I want to break this down in a way that I think will be helpful to the listeners, to the watchers and shit, because I think this is really important. You know, when you
talking real good right now.
That conflict resolution skills coming through right now. The community building, you know what I'm saying?
So
let me hit the mute because you finna take off. Hold on.
So when
she really hit it too.
So when we're kids, right? The point of the way that we formulate our identities as children is we attach to we're giving a concept, right? So you know, before anything happens, there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden they go, hey, yo, you kind of spontaneously go, oh, there's a me. I did it. We did that, right? And then you go through your life and they say, okay, that's not you. It's not just you. That's not you. And that's mommy. And that's daddy. And that's a thought. And that's an emotion. And here are all these little things. And that's a knife. And that's a car. You don't go fuck with that. Like that's what you do. All of these little concepts that we have create our identities as kids. The thing about these concepts, though, is that fundamentally they only exist in your mind. Right? All of these things, everything that I have, let's right. I use I'm not trying to get
for the audio listeners right now, he's looking for an object.
I'm looking for an object, right?
With no logo on it, there's no free promo.
You know, no free promo. That's what I was like, nah, we're gonna back it up. So I have my phone, right?
Yeah.
My idea, the concept of a phone is just something I have in my head.
Yeah.
Right. On a fundamental level, whatever this is not going to mirror the concept. If I were to describe the phone in the best fucking like most eloquent way I could in my mind, I could never come close to the experience of experiencing this phone. I could never come close to the experience of drinking water with the concepts of drinking water, right? My idea of sex, I got all these great ideas. It ain't close, right? When we're kids, we're taught that we are fully identified with our ideas of ourselves. And so what does that look like? You're over-identified with your mind. So who am I? I'm my personality, all these things that happened in the past. Because if all I know is who I am is my thoughts, then of course I am my past. Of course I am the things I'm afraid of in my future. I can't differentiate between me and my thoughts because who I am functionally is a thought. That's who you are as a child for so much of your life. And so for so long, we're told, okay, so when this thing happens, these are the rules, right? When something happens, rather, when something is a thought, it exists in a binary. It's what it is or what it isn't. And if it's something else, then it's something else, but it exists in a binary in your mind. What completes that triangle is experience, right? What it is, what it isn't, and the experience of that thing. Fundamentally, all those things that we have as our ideas of ourselves are just pointing to us, right? My idea of my body is a pointer to the experience of being embodied. My idea of all these things point to that. So fundamentally, our mental health journey, the thing that causes all of the suffering in our life is because we've over-identified with that shit. I've over-identified with my emotion. My emotion's taken off. That's who I am because all I know is thinking. And so that's who I am. And so my emotions go all over the place. So the fuck do I? My thinking is nonstop. I have intrusive thoughts. Well, I don't know myself beyond who I think I am. So I think these thoughts are me and I can't let them the fuck go. I'm obsessed about them. And the only thing that's able to stop that obsession is to create a new normal, is to swing the pendulum to a new attachment. And so you get this anxiety of trying to create structures around and freeze time, right? I'm trying to, I can't deal with the unknown of existence, the unknown of this phone. Instead of dealing with that, I'm going to attach to my idea of it because it's so much easier. When that comes to people, now we're looking at, okay, well, you're not a person, right? One of my favorite definitions of fucking hate crime was this guy who was talking about like, there ain't no such thing as a hate crime, or not a hate crime. It's like, I don't think hate speech does it. You don't hate that person. You are perpetually objectifying that person. You saw one black person you didn't fuck with, and then you take that and you move it and you place it in between you and every other black person you see. That's an objectification. You're in your head and I'm projecting that onto this person. And so this obsessive objectification immediately hits, like, everybody here is of a certain age. What that creates in you psychologically when you are fully identified with your mind is a transactional experience with life, because everything is separate from you, right? The point of the ego, the point of identifying as these thoughts was to create separation between you and existence. And so that is a good thing so that we don't die, you know, good for survival. But after a while, it creates this kind of lack inside of you because you think that I have to get something outside of me to be whole. So I got to get this, I got to get adulation. I got to get love. Maybe if I get the job that I want, if I get enough sex, if I get enough, all this shit. And at some point, we are all of a certain age. We know that that shit never fucking works. It's never enough. It's never enough. And that is the catastrophic break that most people have that catapults them into change, where it's like, whoa, if I'm only identifying with my thoughts, my emotions, my past, my future, I'm fucked.
My identity, you know what I'm saying?
My identities, if those are who I am, if I don't have a means of recognizing the usefulness of those while still existing, being present in this moment in life, then I'm in trouble. And so we are at the precipice of that, because what's behind holding the white supremacy, what's behind holding all these things in place is the attachment to these identities that who we think we are. It's the attachment to the idea of separation. Dealing with that, like, from a very sort of idealistic perspective, is if I'm present, I'm not here with a black person. I'm here with a person who's talking to me about their experience. Right? I'm not here with a white person. I'm here with the person who's talking to me about their experience. The thing about going beyond your attachment to your body, thoughts, emotions, sense of self, which is the point of every spiritual system, wellness system, your fucking therapist wants you to do this. The point of it is to move from just this point of separation into integration with this moment. And so there's a natural empathy that shows up because you're not some person over there, you're me. The good book, to quote the GOAT, golden rule, love the neighbor as the self. I don't have to love the neighbor as the self if the neighbor is the self. You're me. Do you know, like, it's all one thing. And that's like that being able, because we are not functionally able to grab this awareness, deal with this as the core problem, because when I tell you it's literally the one ring to rule them all, our inability to let go of our attachment to our egos and live beyond that, it is behind patriarchy, capitalism, fuck every single problem we have, ladders up to fucking this. Our inability to deal with that on a collective level creates the same sort of solutions. And so when we identify with our minds, we're just going to create binary solutions that crumble. They'll hold for a second and they, right? Because they're never based on the experience of now. They're based on some shit that happened in our past. Everything in America that's a problem is a mirror of overthinking and ego. We got to change this. This needs to be priority number fucking. If I'm running, like this is the fucking thing. We're coming out swinging. I'm putting this shit in a community center in every fucking place. I'm putting it in every fucking school. We got to have conversations about this because our kids are desperately suffering from this. And because of the virtualization of the internet, it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse because that is literally a mirror of the mind. Now I'm only integrating engaging from this materialistic, disconnected perspective, which is what we see on the internet. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant.
No, that was fucking amazing. That was fucking amazing.
That explains and encapsulates a lot of the conversations that we're having. You know, it's because for a long time first off, Atlanta men are so smart, and that's what DeKalb County and Waffle House gets you. I'm telling you.
Shout out to Waffle House.
Shout out to Waffle House. I fuck with Waffle House, bro. I fuck with Waffle House. South Carolina, bro. Every time, go get you one. But yeah, for a long time, I genuinely struggled with how so many people, to use the internet term, made being a Republican their entire personality. Made it quite literally their cultural identity. Like, I mean, I saw the political ads of people. I saw the interviews of people who were quite literally attached to the Republican Party as part of their heritage. Like to break from the Republican Party was quite literally breaking with the self, breaking with who they were as a person.
It's annihilation.
Right. And sometimes like a cultural break. I mean, how many times you'll hear it a lot if you listen to some of them talk. I'm a lifelong Republican. Right. My mom was a Republican. My dad was a Republican. My granddad was a Republican. It's like it's an ethnicity of some sorts, right? Like, you know, it is the way, it is the attachment to self, right? Like, how does that become who you are? How does that become a part of your personality? How does that become who you are in such a way that the values of this political party have shifted so far from who you think you are that you have just decided to coast along with it and let that create who you should be. And so now you're voting for Republicans because I grew up in this church and I grew up in this family and that's what you're supposed to do. And so I did it. And to the point where breaking from that is quite literally a denial of self. Like it is a self, like as you're saying. And I think that one of the things that I like to talk about on my platform, particularly as we're in community together and we do this work together, is to sit with the contradictions because they're not going to go away. And we have these internal battles that then turn into I don't know, internet yelling into the void about who's good and who's bad. And but basically, I mean, the decision that you made is the best decision, not because it's the best, but because it's yours. That's why it's the best choice. That's why it's the best choice. And so now you have to sit with the contradictions of your choice. And you do have to sit with the fact that, okay, I've made this political decision. So what does that mean for these people? And you're not used to having to contend with so many things that apparently contradict this image that you've made of yourself. And so
this caricature.
No. And now we have the 3 minutes screaming into the void of no, people who voted third party are not bad people. And we just did, and we're yelling all into the void. It's because you have been forced to sit with the contradictions of who you think you are. And that's what we've been watching that's what we've been watching through these crash outs. That's what we're watching through these crash outs. And so much so that it's like I've even had to sit with people again that I agree with 99% of the time and say, okay, I understand. that you riding for queer people, but you do understand that there are Palestinian queer people. So now how are you sitting with that contradiction? Not how are you solving it, because you cannot solve it. How are you sitting with that? And if the way that you sit with that is to deny, and say, well, they're here, and so they need to be thinking about what it's going to be like for their country, and and how are we going to do anything under a Trump presidency? Like, that's where that rumination starts to come from. And I personally do not think that the internet is the place to process raw emotions, but that's what people do. They cut on the camera and decide to yell into the camera, processing live and direct the dissonance between the decisions that you make and who you think you are. And that, I think, is what we've been seeing. And that's what we've been seeing amongst like so many people who are on the left, who are progressives or whatever label that we
Democrat, liberal, whatever it is.
Right. Because it's like, I don't, the idea, if we are going to create the binary of right and left, we're all on the left. Democrats, liberals, if we're just talking about the people who are on the right and the people who are on the left, we are all on the left. So now what? Right. It's just, that's just what, if you choose to draw your binary right there. You have to decide how to sit in that contradiction. You have to decide how to do that. Right. And I think that people have had a really, really hard time sitting with contradictions within the system that we're being forced to operate in. And it's been really concerning to see, quite literally. And on all sides, of course, right? You have you ask, how many times are you going to ask a Trump supporter, how could you be a woman and vote for somebody who's been found liable of sexual assault? How many times are you going to ask a Black person, like, how could you vote for Trump when he's said all kinds, took out a full page ad against 5 Black boys and said, basically hang them all for something they didn't do. Right. So like why, and how defensive and how aggressive everybody decides to get, right? Like, you're lying. And it's the liberal scam. And I mean, it's truly, it's fascinating to watch. It truly is. It's fascinating to watch people work out that dissonance in real time.
And just for any audio viewers or viewers in general who did not know what Jamila was speaking out specifically when she talked about the crash outs, we have been seeing a lot of crash outs from people who are upset that Kamala Harris did not win. And a lot of them are playing the blame game, and I think we saw a similar crash out from Palestinian people as they were watching their families being G-sided, and I didn't feel like there was a lot of space there for some people, and then now we're seeing what happens when we are having to deal with the political ramifications of our society, and then feeling that online. You know what I mean, and understanding that, like, in order to have these conversations, I think we need to have more empathy for people. You know what I mean? We really need to have more empathy for people across the board who are experiencing such dramatic loss and also feeling such, intense feelings of fear and rejection. And I think that something that, I mean, you guys both said so much beautiful things. It's almost like hard to even like keep it all cataloged and have something to say perfect back. Not to say perfect back, but it's like, almost like I want to say so much, and it's hard to to be able to say it. But like, I think what we're talking about here is just
like part 2 to me. That's what that's giving.
That's
for giving sure. Part 2.
Right? I would love a part 2. You know what I'm saying?
I haven't even talked about how A Bug's Life is a revolutionary film. You know what I mean? In the context, you let one ant stand up, and they all might stand up. I don't want Disney to come and take you down, but I mean that's what he said. Ants we will have to spin the block. That little anthropomorphized ant, that little imaginative Black boy said ants don't serve grasshoppers. We're a lot stronger than you say we are, and you know it, don't you? I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We're gonna have to spin the block.
We need a whole Bug's Life episode.
Well, we are gonna have to spin the block. But I want to say that, not only do I appreciate this conversation, because in the moment I'm just feeling like I'm just so happy that we were able to have it. It's just so soothing from my other experiences online. Just like being the nuance of it all is being like digested fully. And in that spirit, I think, we have to also talk about, like David said, we talk about identity, you know what I mean? And identity and, what happens when you over-identify with things that are not the self, you know what I mean? Jamila brought up Republicans who, identify with being Republicans, and what happens when those things are challenged, when something that you are identify is challenged or threatened. It's almost like you're challenging me. Now I want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Now we want to square up because you said something bad about something I hold dear, and that's a pillar of the foundation of my identity. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off. I want to like add right there though.
Yeah.
Because like the empathy behind that is like we are also exist in a system that's so fucked that attaching to that identity is the only thing people feel like they can do.
Yeah.
Right? Like because the system is so broken, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is all I got. This, you know what I mean? I'm so sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's 100% valid. Like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I said that nuance is needed too. You know what I mean? But it's like Jamila said, living in the contradiction of it all. You know what I mean? It's like people are attaching these things out of survival, but at the same time, it's like this is also inhibiting your ability to grow and be in community with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think it depends, right? Because I think that this is where the conversation that this is where the Southern in me comes out.
For sure, yeah.
So it depends on what kind of community you're trying to build, and I think people got to be specific about that too.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Yeah.
About what freedom looks like to you, what liberation looks like to you, and what survival looks like to you.
Yeah.
As a Black woman, living in Georgia, for me not to vote, and for me not to, if we're going to talk about electoral politics specifically, for me to separate my identity and say, okay, I'm going to detach from what my vote is supposed to say about who I am, and decide to build something new. That dramatically reduces my community here.
Oh, for sure.
And so the risk and materially, like quite materially reduces the community that I have here. So to complicate that conversation.
I'm sorry, the risk of not voting?
Yeah.
Okay, just so I understand. Just so I understand. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Or the risk of not voting specifically, or not voting for Kamala, or specifically of not aligning myself with
a certain kind of views.
With a certain kind of view. With a certain kind of view. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not gonna give this whole like I'm not gonna do what Biden or Clinton say, if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't Black. Like I'm not gonna do that. But what I am gonna do is I am gonna say that there are very specific hi baby. Well, you here now. Come on. Are you gonna leave? What, hello? How you finna go?
Oh my God. Wholesome moment. For audio listeners, Jamila's daughter, I'm assuming.
Oh no, this my baby cousin.
Oh, baby cousin just came in. Hey, baby cousin.
You finna leave? That's why you came in to say bye?
Hey.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Are you gonna come down?
I'll be right down, okay?
Okay.
I love you. Close my door.
Awesome.
And what about
beautiful. Her? That's beautiful.
I wanted to
what about her?
You know, I wanted to co-sign that because I think you hit on something that is integral to, as far as what I was speaking to earlier with this sort of spiritual integration process, which is there's a sort of inability for people, because this is where most this is me. I'm not going to say it like that. This is where people end up on extreme right or extreme left spaces online, where they have become aware of this very kind of rigid attachment to their previous identities, but they're unable to recognize the sort of universality of it, the unself and the self at the same time, because and so they end up swinging back and forth, trying to be like, I'm this thing over here, but I'm this thing over here. And what the spiritual process is a process of integrating both of those at the same time, right? It's a fact that I'm Black and I'm also, you know, an infinite void of nothingness at the same time. And what that is, what that looks like, and the thing that we don't like in the West, what that looks like is fucking practice. What that looks like is actually doing the actual work it takes to move past these spaces. So often in the West, we look at our wellness and our conversations with identity from a very sort of materialistic lens, and so it gives us a sense of solace to understand something. And you see this in the new age space, you see this in the alt-right space. It's like, if I can kind of think my way into like being one with all creation, or if I can think my way into being really stoic, it's still the sort of materialistic thing where I'm not actually doing the work. What the work is the practice of now, and whatever that looks like, and making that the priority. And what that does is it reconciles the paradoxes of that thing in this moment. You know what? I'd love to be wide open and be like, my vote would be really great for this. If I just ignored all these things, this would be great. No, like, this shit is real. Like, I got family. I want to go visit my family. My entire family lives in red states right now. There's real material consequences to this motherfucker. At the same time, I don't have to be overly attached to that thing. Like, it's not dominating my entire existence, but there is a part of my life where that fucking matters. And being able to thread that needle and reconcile that paradox requires a practice, requires a level of care that isn't just me understanding it or just beating my chest and having a new identity as a stoic or as an astrology girl or as a fucking whatever the fuck it is.
I've decided to be a leftist now. It's like, okay.
Bars.
It's like, I congratulations. I don't know how that materially meets the needs of the people. And I think it also, it allows you to hold those complexities. Viewers, listeners, my baby cousin just walked in. I call them my village children. It's like, they're not mine, but they're mine. They be calling me mama on accident. I'm the emergency contact. I be going down to the school. And she's 6 years old. Right. And why something that you were saying earlier about how to your nephews, Donald Trump is just like this another internet weird guy who says things. But my cousins are all girls and they know exactly who he is. And they are afraid of him. Today was the first time that they saw me. They're oh God, finna be 17. I'll say, she would want me to say 17. So 17, 15, and 6. And today was the first time that they saw me since the election. And the first thing they said was, Trump won. Even the 6-year-old, she leaned in and she said, Donald Trump is the president. And I said, are you nervous? And she said, yeah. Right? Like, she's 6 years old and she has she is already developing an understanding of what that means for her. I mean, having me as the cool big cousin definitely helps, but they're holding these contradictions. They are always in the back of my mind, sometimes in the front as I do that, because the truth is I am leaving something behind for them. And if they watch this podcast to make a decision one day, if they do like they just said they did the other day and said, one of my friends didn't understand this, so I showed them your video about the slave in a box video that I made about the Black history of Aunt Jemima. And if they were to watch that and all they saw was the selfishness of me trying to make myself the good one, what does that do for them? What does that do for them? Right? Like, when I ask, are you nervous? And she says, yeah. What does me not being able to hold that contradiction do for her? Because somebody thought, oh, nothing. Oh, it does something. It's just not good. what does that do? And so I think that we should be thinking collectively, how do we model something different?
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of us missed our shot in a way to model something different.
Yeah.
I know that y'all have tried and to really model something different. Wise, I see you in comment sections all the time.
Yeah.
Going, I think I want to like, but maybe let's do it this way. Like maybe let's talk about some radical hope and let's talk about what it looks like if we could to model a different way of doing this. Right? Like David, I see you on your platforms trying to model a different way of having these conversations. And I think right now, the best time would have been yesterday, but the better time is right now.
Come on.
How do we model better ways of doing this? Because electoral wise, right? And this is of course, we all got so many other things to say about so many other things, but this is an electoral conversation.
Yeah.
So I mean, the 17-year-old and the 15-year-old are going to be voters next time. They're going to be voters. They're going to be voters next time. That specifically, the 17-year-old is going to be a voter in the midterms.
Wow.
Faced in 2 years with she's brilliant. She's brilliant. Like, think of me, but a 17-year-old who don't know that she's not supposed to be saying some shit out loud. Oh, it's great. It's great. I couldn't play Monopoly with them because I got to get snacks and all my houses was gone. And I said, you took my houses, and she said, well, you're rich, just get some more.
Yeah.
But she was dead at like she took my houses and put them over here. She said I needed some.
Yeah.
Like so this is the kind of person that's gonna be voting in 2 years.
Yeah.
What am I going to leave for her?
Yeah.
She's going to have these same contradictions to sift through.
Yeah.
And she won't be 33. She'll be 19.
Yeah.
What are we leaving? How are we modeling? Especially if we are, I come from a teaching background. If your role is the teacher, look, I have a lot of different roles, but my role is always going to be the teacher. Somebody has to have keys to the back door of the library. It might as well be me. That's what it is. It's like in a magical fairyland. I'm like the witchy woo-woo hippie girl, like who lives in a tree, and it's like, oh my God, I know a lady. I think she knows about that. And it's me, right? Like that's who I am, and that's just kind of where I fit in. And so if you do want to be on your podcast or on your TikTok account, putting things out into the world with your platform, if somebody come behind you because they don't know how they know they need to vote for a county commissioner, but they all really love cops and they want to know what to do. They don't need a video of me hollering into the camera. They don't need that. The only video that I've uploaded about any post-election advice is, I don't know who needs to hear this, but I don't relapse.
Yeah.
You don't need to hear whose fault it was. You need to hear that I know that you have the intention of staying sober, and I just need you to hold on for another day.
Yeah.
How are we using these platforms to model better ways of knowing, being, and doing, and meeting people? Because we also have a tremendous opportunity here. Tremendous opportunity here to use platforms to model different ways of even being online. It's like everybody's yelling whose fault it is, but who is telling somebody, oh, okay, put the keys down. Put the keys down. Don't call the old plug. Sit it. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Who's doing that? How do we model better ways of doing this? Because we're going to need them. We're going to need better ways of doing and being over the next 4 years.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think, what comes to mind is, do you want to do right or do you want to be right? Immediately. Yeah. Do I want to yell in this camera? And as good as it might feel to get my anger out or to shit on this one person,
it might be, because you ain't wrong. But
yeah. But
and
but
as
what
much
is
money
it
as
doing?
it might make you.
As much. Yeah, that's also a factor.
It might get you.
As many views as it might get you. Is it really worth what it might do to my community? You know what I mean? Is it really worth what it might do to the overall, like not even my personal community, but like the community that we're trying to actively build right now. You know what I mean?
Right, the community
with each
you don't
other.
know you have yet.
Yeah. And it's like I think we gotta really be mindful in how we engage in these spaces. Not to say the title, mindful. But
shameless plug.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I think that says a lot. You know what I mean? And it's like I had so much to say, and I'm like, man, is it even the best thing to say right now? You know what I mean? Given the time, but something that you brought up that I do think that I do want to talk about is like about radical hope. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And revolutionary hope is the actual way to say it. And it's like how I said it in the video that you're referencing is that, you know, you're not going to vote shame leftists into voting, and you're not going to vote shame Democrats or whatever out of voting. You know what I mean? What we need to be doing is trying to build community with each other. And also, if you're on the left, you need to be trying to remind people of what it looks like when we come together and the amount of change that we can have. You know what I mean? Because we have not seen an integrated, multiracial alliance of people that brought us to civil rights. You know what I mean? And people like to talk about the civil rights as if Martin Luther King wasn't a socialist, but also that it just happened overnight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh no, but this is people having protest over protest. It was strategic. They had to hold a lot of contradictions. You know what I mean? They had to understand that like things weren't going to be how they wanted them to be, but we had to do what was best for us, and that's why we got, you know, the best things that we needed from out of that time. You know what I mean? And obviously it wasn't done. It wasn't finished. You know what I mean? There was more that was going to be done. You know what I mean? But our leaders was taken from us. You know what I mean? A whole generation of people were taken out. A black leadership was taken out. You know what I mean? And what are we going to do with that moving forward? You know what I mean? I think about the workers' rights movements when we got minimum wage and, you know, child work laws, and these things came from unionization. This came from community building. This came from, you know, boycotts and strikes, just like the civil rights movement. And like we got to remind our people what is possible when we come together, because the real power comes from us. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if we come together, this shit would change tomorrow, really. You know what I mean? It's just, and we got things like social media right now, which has a profit incentive in keeping us disengaged, because they share the things that get angry. Whatever's going to make you angry is what's going to keep you the most engaged on that platform, and it's going to make them the most money. You know what I mean? So, you know, the social dilemma talks about this and how this is kind of ripping apart the fabric of society, because now we have an incentive of, you know, propping up the absolute worst conversations or the worst points from the worst people. You know what I mean? And we've seen that all on TikTok. The absolute worst conversations from with the people with the least amount of nuance, with the most inflammatory topics, those are the people going viral. And the people talking about, hey, we need to try and, you know, build and do this. They're not going viral.
12 views.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're getting 12 views because it ain't inflammatory enough. Yeah. And we have to keep that in mind as we going on social media, and knowing that, you know, we have to have enough digital hygiene and wellness to understand that, like, what I'm seeing right now is not indicative of every single liberal, every single leftist. People don't exist in this flat space. There is nuance. There is contradictions. There's multiple levels to this. People can hold multiple beliefs that contradict at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we need to talk to these people like they're people, not like they're, you know, faces on a fucking screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. And again, maybe this is just my Southern girl popping out, but I don't know how, and maybe this is a different conversation, because I truly don't know how the left kind of ate itself alive while there were like actual KKK members to fight having Nazi rallies.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't really, I don't really believe in the concept of an enemy, but damn it, if there was one.
Yeah.
I don't, and for me, right, I don't know if I had to pick.
Yeah.
If I had to pick who the enemy was, it wasn't gonna be a Jill Stein voter. I wouldn't have picked a Jill Stein voter. I wouldn't have picked a Black Kamala voter.
Yeah.
If I had to pick.
Yeah.
I don't believe in some common enemy. Yeah. But if I had to pick one, it might have been the people who was giggling when that comedian at Madison Square Garden said that Puerto Rico was a floating pile of trash.
Yeah.
And hey, that's my Black friend. We're real cool. We carved watermelons together over Halloween. That's might have been the direction I was yelling in if I was someone who yelled.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand truly how our focus became deciding who was leftist enough.
Yeah. And even to that point, like to take it like another step fucking further, like the issue, the actual issue is everybody really just wants the same shit. Like if we keep it a fucking bean, like everybody out here really just wants like the same basic regular shit. If we could give everybody the basic necessities of life across the board, so much of the bullshit that we're fighting for would absolutely fucking evaporate.
Exactly.
Just overnight. Like, and I think the awareness of that points the true problem. The issue is, I mean, Goofy said this a million times, but this is a class thing. This is a truthful class thing. And in a village of 100 people, 1% of 100 people don't make no fucking sense to be running shit. 1% of 330 million seems like we're crazy. Like if somebody was to like aliens was touch down and be like, hey, y'all, so who's in charge? Who's in charge of all of these people? 330 million people? That little corner over there, like 5-10%.
Less than that. It's like 0.0.001.
Them 12 people over there, go holler at them.
Over there. Like that would be fucking wild. Like I think that's such a powerful awareness. Like if we looking at a problem, like we really gotta like deal with the fact that this energy, like it really makes me sad that like I don't know if I said in the last podcast, but like if half of us went to Washington and just sat down peacefully, half, with a list of very basic like requests, like it would just be tomorrow. Half. If we're just like, you know what? Fuck the shit. You know, hey, look, we're gonna deal with this shit over here. We're gonna deal with it. We're gonna raise some KKK. Y'all wilding. Y'all on some bullshit. But we're gonna get to you. But like collectively, 150 million, as far as the eye can see. Sit down. So we just want to be able to eat our food and not have it be like ultra processed bullshit because everything's deregulated. Can we do something about that today? Like, can we figure out some kind of like workable wage? Like it just seems, it's so frustrating because it's not like these issues don't fucking matter. So much of what keeps us in fucking conflict is not being able to deal with the white supremacy, not being able to deal with the anti whatever, like fighting amongst ourselves about these things.
Another thing that's sad about it is that it's not like it's not being done because the ops have mastered that. They said, okay, look, we can all agree that Black folks shouldn't be in no powerful positions, right? And everybody goes, yeah. All right, we all agree that the Haitians gotta go, right?
They put that shit aside.
All right. So, okay, we all agree that this whole women's lib thing has gone too far, right? So here's the plan for stopping that. And there might be a couple of hairs to split down the road, but that's down the road. The first step on the road is to just vote for this person because we can all agree that these minorities are getting out of hand. And everyone goes, perfect.
You're right. Yep.
That's exactly.
It can't be done because they doing it.
They doing it, and they doing it at a genius level too. They doing it so well. It's insane their ability to execute such power over the working class. And I think what we're talking about right now is just like a level of class consciousness that we need to have with one another. You know what I mean? To be able to understand our position in society and relative to the capital class, the people who own things, and also talking about putting the power in the hands of the working class and not the capital class. And even if that won't solve all our solutions, it'll be infinitely better than what we have now because the power will be democratized amongst the working class, meaning the you, the me, the everyone else. You know what I'm saying? And it's like right now we got these people who are so loyal to the capitalist class that they you know what I'm saying? They do fight every battle before it even happened.
It's a part of their identity too.
Yeah, and I want to get back to
working class though. If you're gonna be real,
you said what now?
I say it's a lot of people who think they the capitalist class, who think they the elite class, and I'm like, oh, babes.
Secret millionaires.
You are one car accident away. You are one diagnosis away.
Secret billionaire. Oh, I'm next.
I'm like,
yeah,
no.
yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, everybody, they all think they, out of luck billionaires just in the making. I just one more time, and I'm one more video on TikTok, or one more drop selling, or one more course I gotta sell, and I'm gonna be a billionaire just like them. So I'm gonna be loyal to them. But I think I want to answer a question that Jamila asked earlier, and she was talking about like how do we not see the common enemy amongst us, and if there was one, you know what I mean? I think it comes from, like David was saying earlier, it's like attachment to labels. You know what I mean? On both sides of every side. You know what I mean? Not even both, because it's not a two back and forth. It's a 3D plane that has so many different things. And I think what I see sometimes is like I wonder how do you get to the point where people start to they'll believe anything as long as it supports their worldview or their side or thing. And this is kind of where we get into like the idolization of politicians. You know what I mean? Oh, they are my savior. Well, no, first of all, they're not your savior. You know what I mean? They are a politician. You know what I mean? The people who are going to save you are the people around you. You know what I mean? And I think that something I really want to talk about is like representation, and I think representation is extremely important to, opening the doors for people. But I also want to say that representation is not liberation. You know what I mean? These are not the same things. And while it isn't really important, it is a vital step into dismantling white supremacy. But if we want to be able to, fully, free ourselves, we're going to need to start thinking about liberation as well. And this is like where I get into it with some of the like people who voted for Kamala and thinking that, just because they're a black woman, they're going to solve all our problems. And just because they're a black woman, that they are not culpable for a G-side. You know what I mean? And I hate to say that I even have these comments from people. And it almost feels like dirty to bring it up. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I want to protect black people so much. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to put them in the spotlight and where they're going to be like judged or, because I know how white supremacy functions. You know what I mean? But I do think it is extremely problematic to support someone who is a white supremacist unconditionally. You know what I mean? As if they are our saviors when they are not. They're not our saviors. We are our saviors. The people are our saviors. So, I just wanted to say that.
I love to your point about labels, man. I think, the labels it's hard to recognize a label as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
It's hard for people because, like, truthfully, like, I mean, there's so many labels that we've already all kind of thrown around over the course of this podcast that are pointing to something, right? Every label that we have points to something in real life. And that's something that I think we get lost in because the labels make us feel safe. It makes us feel certain. It gives me a sense of dealing with life, the uncertainty of life. If I can say I'm definitely a Republican, I'm definitely a Democrat, I'm definitely a leftist, I'm a communist, I'm a Marxist. These are definitely exactly. And 99.9% of the time, motherfuckers don't know what that means.
They have no fucking clue.
No clue. Like even from an academic perspective. And then B, they aren't doing the work to bring that label into reality, to manifest that in reality.
For sure.
Which gives you the awareness of the nuance of that label. But it's so much easier and safer for me to go, "Ooh, I'm definitely this," than to actually recognize that, "Ooh, there's thinking what it is, and then there's actually doing it." I think I know what sex is. That's not what sex is. I think I know what it means to be a communist. I think I know what it means to be a liberal. I think I know, and then doing the actual work. And I think, that attachment is exacerbated by the uneasiness of existing in the times that we exist in right now.
Yeah.
I can hold on to that at least.
Yeah.
At least.
I remember, tell me what you guys think of this. This might be off topic, but I remember when Obama first got elected, as a young kid, I was outside screaming, "Oh, my president is black!" And I was like crying. I was so happy, thinking that all our problems would be solved by simply, having this black person in the presidency. Very naive of me at the time. You know what I mean?
Also very. What were you? What were you? 15?
Yeah, I was like 15, something like that. Yeah,
you're supposed to be naive, and I think a lot of people.
A
lot of people don't give themselves enough grace for that. It's like, what were you, 12? Of course, you're happy.
Yeah. I was ecstatic. I was running out of the street like, ah! So just, Jamila, I get the feeling that you have to take off soon, or are you good on time? I want to respect your time. Okay, just want to make sure. I don't want to keep you from your village children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she antsy because I'm the one that tells her it's okay to stay up for a couple more minutes, and so she's like, you come downstairs because she know I'll be like, you ain't gotta go to bed just yet. Yeah, whatever. It's Saturday, but so I mean that's the game. That's the game.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to create a space of just in case. I mean, I've loved this conversation. You know, I think it's been super important and super healing. I feel like it was a very co-regulated. We talked about it in the beginning. You know what I mean? But also want to just give the space to like, how are we feeling now? Like, first of all, what happened? We know what happened. We kind of talked about what happened. What happened as far as who got elected? You know what I mean? Donald Trump is our president. You know what I mean? But also, why did it happen? And also, what can we do now? You know?
I think what we can do now is watch the Avengers. I think that everyone needs to watch the Avengers. That first one, that second one, and Captain America Civil War specifically. Because it's a really good illustration of throwing a bunch of random Power Rangers in a room and saying, this is your power, this is your power, this is your power, this is yours, and this is yours. And I have an assignment for you. And I'm not going to tell you how to really get along or how to really fuck with each other for real. That's not as important as the mission. I'm not going to teach you how to be in community with each other. That's not as important as the mission. But then you realize that it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Because what happens when the villain is the brother of one of the heroes? You do have to talk about what, like, you have to go through that. What if you have a hero that was quite literally manufactured by America?
Yeah.
And has to uphold what he thinks American values are, as he is realizing in real time that it ain't what they said it was.
Yeah.
What does it mean when that same government that said you got to come save everybody said you got to sign this paper so we can regulate how you save everybody, and then half of the group say, yeah, let's do that, and the other half say, hell no, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
And then you end up infighting for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Civil War is probably the best illustration of what I need people to see about being in community and being on a mission to make things better.
Yeah.
Talk about how ugly it gets, right? One of the first poems I ever had published is called Heroes, and the first line is, what happens when all the superheroes have gone away? Because nobody talks about what happens in the aftermath. Nobody talks about what happens after Iron Man goes home and there's rubble everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about who cleans that up. Nobody talks about the casualties that happened as a result of the fight that you won. Nobody talks about, like, people don't really talk about those things. People don't talk about what it actually means. I don't know. The movie's almost 20 years old at this point. I don't know. Well, 10 years old. Okay. So the climax of the movie is Iron Man finding something out about what happens to his family.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you who did it, because I feel like that, you can watch that.
Yeah.
But he actually ends up getting in a fight with another Avenger. And when I say they fight down, it's one of the best fight scenes in the whole series. Down.
Yeah.
And the other Avenger goes like, stop. Like, just chill, like, stand down. Just like, I don't want to fight you, but I need you to stop coming after this other one. I need you to stop doing that. And Iron Man says, he killed my mom. I don't care. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing on the internet right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a mindful blurred ass shit to say, by the way.
Mindful blurred ass shit to say. This is the type of shit I like to talk about. It really is. I can hand you all kinds of books, or I could tell you, watch Civil War, and you watch that scene where Iron Man fight them two people, and watch him voice his anger, and watch him name that it is his anger and grief and pain only that is driving this decision that he's making.
Yeah.
He killed my mom. I don't care. He killed my parents. I don't give a damn. Like that's what I need people to see. I need people to see the complexity of loving and living at the same time.
Yeah.
Of being in a group of Power Rangers who are trying to make things better.
Yeah.
You have to, like, and then you can, it's funny because all the blurty conversations that we have at like lunch tables and conventions about who's the best superhero. And I bet Iron Man could whoop the Hulk's ass and da-da-da. You can tell that the writers are giving us like pieces of they're giving us teasers of like who would win in a fight between Captain America and the Hulk, right? Who would win in a fight between Thor and Iron Man? But Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, they're all actually having not just a fight in strength, but a fight of ideology, where they want the same thing, but they are quite literally having a fight of ideology, particularly in Civil War. Because no, I don't think there should be regulation on who we save and how we do it, because what's to stop the U.S. from saying, well, we want all them people in Wakanda to die, so we're not gonna give you the authority to save them, so don't go over there.
Yeah.
But also, what's to stop the Hulk from losing his shit and smashing shit up and not taking accountability? And who gonna pay for that? Iron Man, you gonna cut the check? Who gonna rebuild that shit? Who finished watching them have this conversation, watching the Black Widow as the girl, like, so like I could fight. I just want y'all to know. So like y'all really like stop talking shit now. Like, all right. You know what I mean? It's like you like watching her exist in that universe with a bunch of men who have to have all kind of accoutrements to do what she could do with her hands.
Yeah.
It's like, what? So what exactly is, how is this all working together?
Yeah.
So if you would have asked me what I need and what we can do forward, what we can do is we can all watch the Avengers, the first two, and Captain America Civil War, and we can circle back and have a conversation about some key themes. Because what do you do when the enemy is one of the heroes' brother?
Yeah. And he wasn't even in his right mind when he was doing it. It was a motherfucking Hydra.
Right mind. You know what I mean?
It was Hydra, nigga.
And then I'm not even talking about, because the first one, that is the actual like Loki is sitting here raising hell, and you got Thor going, quite literally, bro, could you not?
Yeah.
Could you not? Like, this is about could you? Because Thor knows what the actual psychological, what the root issue of Loki's problems are.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do you do that? How do you fight your brother for real? How do you fight your brother when you have to? And then how do you fight your brother when you don't have to, but you want to because you're pissed off? So like, these are, watch the damn movies, watch the films, and we can circle, because as imperfect as they are, as military propaganda as they are,
for sure,
they could do something. If you're not into all the other stuff, I'm sorry, the audio people are not going to see this part, but Transformers is my joint. Like, it's
Transformers.
So, I'm a good robot.
Oh shit! I just realized your Twitter name is like Optimus.
Fine. Optimus Fine.
She got a tattoo.
Just like, I'm a good robot, but don't test me.
That's
Transformers is also a good model of that, especially if you're looking at the relationship not between the Transformers and the humans, but between the Transformers and each other.
Yeah,
because Optimus Prime is making a bunch of decisions that he ain't asking nobody about.
Yeah.
Naruto, just gonna
throw that out there. You know,
the homie.
It's like, what happens when you pick a leader?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. One thing I think is, one, I love this conversation because I think media is such an important tool for, like teaching us the tools to being human, you know what I mean? And like also how to work together and so many life lessons in general, but also to the point you said about, also obviously Marvel kind of military propaganda in a way, you know what I mean? But like, even in that, they can't take out what is fundamentally human, you know what I mean, out of those movies, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately that's the most powerful thing there, you know what I mean? And people might, they might throw that propaganda in there, but ultimately the lessons that we can pull from that could allow us to, disentangle system that is oppressing us, you know what I mean? So
yeah, at some point it's got to stop. At some point, like, like we gotta the cycles of hatred do need to be dealt with.
Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan.
Cycles of hatred in this motherfucker.
Like, who's going to stop it?
Who's gonna stop it? It's gotta.
Who's gonna stop? So everybody just gonna blow something up until everybody gone. Like, that's what we gonna do?
Yeah. That ain't it. That ain't it.
All
but
right,
that was a good time. Thank you, Jamila, so much.
Yes.
Let's do that again. Oh,
yes, please.
This made my heart happy. This is good. Because really, Mindful Blerd, I was like, oh, because look now. You a man and you jumped in my DMs talking about I got a podcast. I said, all right, let me look at it first. Let me go look at it. And then But Mindful Blerd, something's there.
I appreciate that.
That's good.
We're trying to be more of the like what we should do now and modeling, kind of how you said, of like
modeling better because y'all can keep y'all microphones. Y'all can keep
we got the pass.
Y'all can keep y'all microphones.
We got the pass. Oh shit!
Y'all can pass. Y'all can keep y'all. Y'all can keep y'all microphones. Y'all good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do. You have been such a light during this entire election thing. Such a model of education and help. Like thank you.
Yeah, I can't echo that enough, and I really appreciate you being in the space. And I don't just say that frivolously, and also I don't invite people that I don't think that are going to be groundbreaking on this podcast. You know what I mean? Like I really want us to be able to talk about things in a way that is actually going to help shape the world that we want to see in this world. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for being you, unapologetically you. Southernly you.
I read a lot, but I also cry a lot.
It's okay. This is the place to do it, nigga. We gonna our kumbaya and hug it out in this motherfucker, nigga. Don't get me. You know what I'm saying? I'll cry with you. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think I love what you do. Please keep doing what you do because we need you. And if you ever need anything, support or anything, I'm always here. Also, Jamila, let them know where they can find you, man. Let them know where they can find you.
Sunny Day Jones on everywhere. I'm Sunny Day Jones on damn Poshmark. I'm Sunny Day Jones on Depop. I'm Sunny Day Jones. If you type in Sunny Day Jones, you type in SUNNYDAEJONES, and I am going to pop up on Goodreads somewhere. I'm going to pop up somewhere, truly. And if you want to type www in front of it, I also have a website, www.sunnydayjones.com. And I will be updating it, I promise, because the way these platforms are looking, I don't know. Everybody get you a domain so that listen, you are renting. One of my mentors told me, you better get your website because these other places are renting you space. Your house is rented over on TikTok, but you can own your house over on sunnydayjones.com.
Facts. Thank you for that. Facts. Yeah, thank you for that. And David, any final words?
No, man. Thanks for everybody for watching. And
I have to split this in 5 parts. My God.
We are. Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna get it in 5 parts for sure. That's and you can catch it all on YouTube. We'll have the clips on TikTok at Mindful Blerd for everything. And thank you guys so much for being here. We are out.
Bye.
Let's do this again.